My sister feigned drowning to ingratiate herself with the crown prince, only to fall into the arms of the capital's most notorious playboy. To avoid marrying him, she falsely claimed I was the one who drowned. For years after our marriage, I devoted myself to scheming, managing the playboy's household and paving his path to power. Yet all I earned was his seething resentment. If not for you, I would have long been flying high with Wan'er. How could she have suffered in the Eastern Palace? I coldly laughed as I stripped him of his title. Unexpectedly, upon opening my eyes again, I found myself back in the past. This time, I chose the crown prince. Main text: I was reborn. Reborn to the day my second cousin, Wan'er, feigned drowning. In my past life, Wan'er, seeking to climb her way to the crown prince, bribed the Eastern Palace for intelligence. She deliberately fell into the water when the crown prince appeared. She had calculated everything with cunning precision. The crown prince had left the palace alone, without guards, and was known as a gallant gentleman. All she needed was to be embraced by him while still wet, and she would have one foot firmly inside the Eastern Palace. Unexpectedly, her rescuer was not the crown prince. It was the most notorious playboy in the capital, the young duke. To avoid marrying this frequent patron of brothels and pleasure houses, Wan'er covered her face with her wet sleeve and trembled as she declared she was Wan'er, the only daughter of the Lin family's main branch. That was me. Thus, I became the young duke's consort. After much turmoil, Wan'er finally became Consort Lin of the Eastern Palace. The young duke, sole son of the eldest princess and the emperor's nephew, possessed both the arrogance of royal blood and the impulsive temper of his general father. On our wedding night, he lifted my veil and, seeing the bride was not Wan'er, the woman he'd fallen for at first sight, he instantly drew his whip, ready to strike. Maids and servants screamed in terror, yet I remained seated, my expression unruffled. The whip lashed past me, and the young prince asked in surprise, "Aren't you afraid?" I smiled faintly. "You are my husband, and I am your wife. From this day forward, we share in each other's honor and disgrace. What is there for me to fear?" The young prince froze, as if deep in thought. Moments later, he lowered his guard, obediently drank the ceremonial cup with me, and we became true husband and wife. I knew when to be pragmatic. Having married into the prince's household and become the princess consort, I strategized behind the scenes, cultivated connections, and paved the way for the young prince's future, and my own. Years later, when the crown prince ascended the throne, the young prince was infeft as Prince Rong, a clear sign of imperial favor. Yet one drunken night, he clutched my arm with deathly grip, eyes bloodshot, as if he wanted to tear me apart. "If not for you, I would have long been with Wan'er. How could she have suffered so much? You heartless, venomous woman. I'll kill you and make Wan'er the princess consort of Rong." Hearing his bitter accusations, I realized for the first time that he had never forgotten Wan'er, nor had he ever felt the slightest gratitude toward me. He even intended to discard me like a used tool, killing me to make way for the disgraced Wan'er, banished from the palace. I coldly laughed as I pried open his hands, dismissed the maids and servants, and then used the hilt of his most cherished sword to thrust viciously into his groin. A piercing scream echoed as the young prince was crippled. From that day on, he lived in disgrace, his days spent in utter despair. Even when Wan'er met a tragic end in the Taoist temple, he remained unmoved, shedding only 2 tears in the dead of night. Later, he too died. I shed 2 tears for him as well, then turned and smiled as I elevated my own children to high positions. Unexpectedly, when I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the crossroads of fate. Recalling the selfish, impulsive, foolish, and heartless young prince, this time I resolved to live differently, to become the most exalted woman, crown princess, and future empress. Even though Wan'er had suffered in the Eastern Palace in my past life, and everyone said the crown prince had a beloved white moonlight he cherished above all else, I resolved to go. I sought only power and influence, not love. The sun blazed fiercely on the horizon. After dressing and adorning myself, I carried a bundle and left the Lin residence alone. As I stepped over the threshold, the whispers of the maidservants reached my ears. "Poor Miss Lin. She's the legitimate daughter of the main branch, yet that second daughter from the secondary branch bullied her so badly she couldn't even lift her head. Such a pitiful, meek creature." Another maid spat at her. "Look at you, a servant feeling sorry for her mistress. I pretended not to hear. Feigning weakness and inferiority was merely my means of survival within the vast Lin residence. With my parents gone, the old matriarch biased, my second uncle and aunt cunning and money-grubbing, and my cousin Lin Ruoan hypocritical and vicious, I stood alone guarding the first branch's vast estate. Without resorting to tactics, how could I have grown this long? But now, I would choose a different path. I donned my pointed cap and walked slowly to the moon bridge not far from the Lin residence. Street vendors hawked their wares, passers-by hurried along, yet I remained unhurried. For I knew the crown prince, dressed in plain clothes, would soon pass this way. Lin Ruoan had bribed palace attendants to learn the time and route of the crown prince's solitary outing. She timed it perfectly but misjudged the location, colliding head-on with the frivolous young duke. Fortunately, having lived through a lifetime, I not only remembered correctly but also knew what the crown prince truly cherished. Beneath the moonlit bridge, tree shadows danced. I set up the chessboard, black and white pieces intertwined, my delicate fingers gently shifting the stones. A breeze stirred, lifting the sheer veil beneath my conical hat, revealing a fleeting glimpse of a pale, luminous profile. Footsteps behind me halted abruptly. A smile played at my lips as I pretended to ponder, moving a piece with feigned distress. After a long moment, a warm, masculine voice came from behind. Moving the white piece thus breaks the stalemate. A hand with clearly defined knuckles rested before my eyes. On the finger moving the white piece sat a priceless jade ring. The fish had taken the bait. I feigned surprise with a soft gasp, then quickly covered my mouth and rose to curtsy. "Thank you, your highness." Behind the sheer veil lay the crown prince's handsome, gentle face. He stood as straight as green bamboo, his gaze fixed on me as he smiled with calm grace. "Your chess skills are excellent, young lady." In my previous life, as the prince's consort, I often attended family banquets in the palace and had met the crown prince several times. Later, through the young prince's influence, I served as his strategist, aiding his bid for the throne. The crown prince was a refined gentleman. Toward me, he showed the respect and propriety due a younger brother's wife, yet also the warmth and concern reserved for family. In summer, we savored ice, in winter, plum wine. Yet there lingered an indescribable closeness between us. Moreover, he treated Lin Ruoan with cold indifference. "You remind me of someone from the past," the crown prince suddenly remarked, as if probing something. "Would you care to play a game with me?" He invited. Recalling the crown prince's legendary first love, I nodded softly. "At your pleasure, your highness." That day, the crown prince and I played chess until the sunset was about to set before parting. Before leaving, the crown prince seemed somewhat hesitant. His eyes were deep as he unfastened the jade pendant from his waist and handed it to me. "Miss Lin, I have lost. I offer this jade pendant to you. Please keep it well." During the game, I had inadvertently revealed my family background to him. He knew my identity. Upon returning to the Lin residence, my cousin Lin Ruoan had been waiting for me for quite some time. She had changed into fresh clothes, her damp hair hanging loosely, still bearing traces of dishevelment. "Where have you been? How dare you leave without my permission?" Lin Ruoan shot me a disgusted sideways glance, panic lurking beneath her voice. Only when she saw the pointed hat in my hand did she relax, fidgeting irritably with her handkerchief. "In a few days, the young Marquis, the sole son of the eldest princess, will come to propose marriage. Tell grandmother you'll marry him. Got it?" She had always looked down on me. To outsiders, she was the gentle, innocent second young miss of the Lin household. Only in front of me did she bully and berate me without restraint. Having failed to climb onto the crown prince's coattails, she used me as her scapegoat. I sidestepped her. "Haven't you always wanted to marry into a prestigious family? The prince's mansion isn't bad. You can marry him yourself." Lin Ruoan froze for a long moment before snapping out of it, furious enough to smash several teacups. The next day, the crown prince's gifts arrived at the Lin residence. A torrent of offerings piled up, filling an entire courtyard. Second Aunt was stunned, while Lin Ruoan covered her face and wept, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. "Mother, your daughter has finally made it. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince favors me, I will become his crown princess." Her voice echoed loudly. The Grand Eunuch of the Eastern Palace felt profoundly awkward and cleared his throat. This ancient chess set is a special gift from His Royal Highness to the eldest Miss Lin, for her enjoyment. The Crown Prince entrusted me to convey a message. He wishes to continue playing chess with the eldest Miss in 3 days. The small courtyard fell silent for a moment. Lin Ruowan's upturned lips froze on her face, her ecstatic expression slowly cracking. She stared in disbelief. All these years, she had gone to great lengths to flatter and curry favor with the Crown Prince, even nearly falling into the hands of a dissolute noble. Yet, he had remained indifferent toward her. Unexpectedly, I, whom she looked down upon, had secretly earned the Crown Prince's favor. This time, Lin Ruowan truly wept. "Mother! The young prince is the most notorious playboy in the entire capital. I refuse to marry him, I want the Crown Prince. Lin Ruoy is shameless, stealing a man from her own sister." Her tears flowed freely, while her second aunt gritted her teeth in fury. "Don't worry, Wan'er. I'll lock that slut in the mansion. In 3 days, you'll take her place to meet the Crown Prince." The maid I had bribed secretly relayed the overheard conversation to me. As if trying to curry favor, the maid whispered a warning, "First, young miss, you must guard against the second branch plotting against you." I smiled and rewarded her with 2 taels of silver. Lin Ruowan's petty tricks didn't faze me in the slightest. She wasn't a particularly clever woman. If she were clever, she wouldn't have failed repeatedly in her attempts to win the Crown Prince's favor. If not the Crown Princess, she could at least have been a concubine. If she were clever, after scheming her way into the Eastern Palace in my past life, she wouldn't have ended up discarded, banished from the palace to become a Taoist nun. She was greedy to the core, affected and full of pretense. In my past life, after the young prince married me, he rose rapidly through the ranks, becoming the Crown Prince's favorite. Her envy burned brightly. Unable to bear my success, she plotted my death time and again. Later, she even sought to replace me. I rubbed my temples, idly pondering what fate I should bestow upon her this time around. Second aunt and Lin Ruowan were plotting against me. Perfect. I wanted her to fall from a great height, her death as gruesome as possible. That night, the old grandmother summoned me to join her for supper. She bore 2 sons, my father and second uncle, heading the Lin family's main and secondary branches. Several concubine-born aunts were arranged by her to marry far away. Thus, the Lin household became her personal fiefdom. She disliked my mother because she bore only 1 daughter, and father had sworn never to take a concubine. After father's sudden death, she blamed my mother for his demise. She tormented and berated her relentlessly, driving mother to her death by depression. As for me, she ignored my existence. She favored the sweet-tongued Lin Ruowan instead, allowing me, the legitimate daughter of the main branch, to be tormented by the secondary branch. After my parents died, young me was mocked by my second aunt and slapped by Lin Ruowan. With my face burning red, I ran crying to the old grandmother. She blocked me at the door, her voice icy cold. "Young miss, with your parents gone and no one to guide you, it's only natural your second aunt teaches you propriety. Return to your quarters and stay put. Don't disturb this old woman's rest." Then she ordered servants to drive me away. From that day on, I knew I had no one left to rely on in the Lin household. Relying on the good karma my father had cultivated in life, I slipped out of the mansion daily. I studied with a tutor to broaden my knowledge, then disguised myself as a boy to learn business management and networking from the shopkeeper. It was grueling and exhausting, yet I savored every moment. It was precisely through this perseverance that I multiplied my parents' inheritance many times over, bribed every servant and laborer, and ultimately lifted that worthless young prince from the mud into his position in my previous life. Lin Ruowan, however, feared hardship and toil, content to bask in luxury. She possessed only beauty, utterly devoid of substance. Ahem, the old grandmother gave a light cough, and second aunt promptly brought over a spittoon. Everyone set down their chopsticks as the old grandmother's sticky phlegm echoed through the room. "Grandmother, I found some fine southern loquats for you. They'll soothe your throat and make you more comfortable." Lin Ruowan offered them with clever, ingratiating deftness. The matriarch's face lit up with a smile. "Wan'er, with such filial devotion, wit, and beauty, even the Crown Prince would be worthy of you." She then turned her reproach toward me. Ruoi, you shouldn't hoard your knowledge. You ought to teach your sister this fine chess skill. Lin Ruowan thought the same. She glared at me with envy, her eyes brimming with resentment. Second aunt chuckled, it's never too late to learn. Eldest miss, are you willing to part with it? All three eyes turned to me, each with a different expression. I smiled calmly, I learned chess from Master Wang. Lin Ruowan didn't understand my meaning. Master Wang was the chess tutor in our household back then, who later returned to his hometown to retire. I added, if my sister had persisted in her studies instead of giving up halfway, why would she need me to teach her now? Given my sister's lazy and irresponsible nature, I wouldn't have been able to teach her well anyway. Lin Ruowan's face flushed crimson with anger, tears welling up in her eyes, looking pitiful indeed. The old lady was equally furious, snatching her walking stick to strike me. I stood motionless, replying calmly, if His Royal Highness the Crown Prince inquires about these wounds, I shall say they were inflicted by grandmother for refusing to marry the young prince in my sister's place. The expressions on everyone's faces shifted once more. The old lady's grip on the stick weakened, and it clattered to the floor with a thud. I smirked inwardly and turned to leave. Come nightfall, my sister came fluttering over to my courtyard. She held several boxes of rouge and powder, offering her apologies. Sister, I'll make sure the young Marquis keeps quiet. Please don't tell anyone. We're both Lin family daughters. If my reputation is ruined, you won't be able to marry into the Eastern Palace either. These boxes contain Dai Chunling's finest powder and rouge, the most renowned in the capital. They're truly exquisite. I use them myself. Please accept them, sister. She feigned innocence, her reddened eyes brimming with feigned sorrow. I nodded and accepted them. By the flickering candlelight, I examined the powder box meticulously. The packaging seals were intact, but a tiny pinhole marred the powder's reverse. I summoned my personal maid, called by he from Lin Ruowan's courtyard. Both second aunt and Lin Ruowan assumed I'd never used Dai Chunlin powder, thinking they could frame me with it. Alas, my discernment far surpassed theirs. I waited to see them reap what they had sown. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, bringing the day I was to play chess with the Crown Prince. Before I left, Lin Ruowan clung to me. Smiling, she offered to help me dress and apply makeup. Sister, why aren't you using the powder I gave you? His Highness the Crown Prince will surely love it. That unopened box of powder lay untouched in the corner of the dressing table. I shook my head. I've never used it. I don't want to. Lin Ruowan leaned her face close to mine. Her fair, delicate features were evenly dusted with fine powder, its subtle fragrance wafting toward me. She batted her eyelashes. Sister, I knew you hadn't used it. Look, I applied some today too. Doesn't it look lovely? No sooner had she spoken than she opened the box herself, carefully applying the powder to my face. The maidservant's attempts to intervene came too late. I sat still, quietly watching the smug smile playing at the corners of her lips in the bronze mirror. A faint, peculiar scent seemed to waft toward me. Very faint, it quickly dissipated. Another half-hour passed before we were finally dressed and ready. Lin Ruowan clung to me, insisting on accompanying me to meet the Crown Prince. The matron sent by the old lady also half-threatened, half-coaxed me to take her along. Miss, it's only for second miss to show her face before His Highness. If you disregard even this sisterly bond, your reputation won't be good. I asked meaningfully, do you truly wish to go, little sister? Lin Ruowan nodded. So, I nodded too. The sun shone brightly, still a fine day. The Crown Prince sat calmly on a stone bench beside the moon bridge, though now surrounded by many more guards. A noblewoman, dressed as a palace matron yet radiating dignified grace, stood quietly behind him. This is the matron who served me since childhood, the Crown Prince introduced. But I recognized her. She was the Empress's own sister, the principal consort of Prince Qin, a woman of immense prestige. I curtsied to the Crown Prince, my cheeks flushing slightly. I offer my respects, Your Highness. Yesterday, I was unaware of your exalted status and failed to observe proper etiquette. I humbly beg your forgiveness. 5 parts maidenly bashfulness, 5 parts dignified propriety, I struck the balance perfectly. The princess consort of Qin's eyes brightened. Unmasked by the ceremonial cap, the crown prince's fresh, handsome features became more distinct. He still wore that gentle smile, offering me a hand in mock support, about to speak. Lin Ruowan suddenly interjected. This humble maiden, Lin Ruowan, also greets your highness. May all your endeavors prosper, and may you enjoy health and happiness. Not only that, she produced a mandarin duck-shaped sachets, presenting it with both hands before the crown prince. This humble maiden specially sewed the sachets for your highness, offering it as a token of my respect. Lin Ruowan had never been this close to the crown prince before. Her expression was agitated, her hands trembling slightly. Her eyes lifted ever so slightly, sending him a tender, lingering glance. A mandarin duck sachets signified a declaration of love. In common folk circles, it might have sparked a romantic tale. But in royal matchmaking, propriety and protocol held supreme importance. The princess consort of Qin frowned, her gaze toward Lin Ruowan brimming with impatience and contempt. Lin Ruowan, hoping for the crown prince's favor, had instead made a fool of herself without realizing it. She was already out of the running. I pulled her hand back. My cousin's narrow-mindedness and improper conduct, please forgive her, your highness. Lin Ruowan nearly gnashed her teeth to dust. She even wanted to curse me. Lin Ruoyi. You haven't even become crown princess yet, and you dare to speak for his highness. My expression remained composed. Cousin, watch your words. Lin Ruowan nearly choked on her rage. By her pale comparison, I appeared all the more dignified, graceful, and well-mannered. I knew the empress favored such women. The crown prince consort she had chosen for him in my previous life fit this mold perfectly. I also knew the emperor did not wish the crown prince to marry a consort from a prominent noble house, lest her clan grow powerful like the empress's had. The princess consort of Qin shot me a glance of quiet admiration. I felt confident. The crown prince paid Lin Ruowan no mind, his eyes fixed solely on me. Miss Lin, our game of chess was interrupted midway. Might we settle it today? I smiled faintly. Certainly. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lin Ruowan clench the mandarin duck-shaped sachet in her hand with bitter resentment. During our game, Lin Ruowan suddenly grew quiet. She seemed to be waiting for something. I paid her no mind, focusing solely on the chessboard. The crown prince's chess moves always felt strangely familiar. A gentle breeze blew in from the lake, carrying wisps of willow fluff that tickled the skin. A guard rubbed his nose, coughed a few times, and brushed away the fluff. Lin Ruowan followed suit with a cough. She had covered her mouth with a handkerchief, coughing cautiously at first, then dismissively brushing the fluff from her robes. But soon, the coughing grew louder and more uncontrollable. Large and small red rashes appeared on her flushed cheeks. Seemingly overcome by intense itching, she gasped for breath and scratched frantically, tears welling in her eyes as pale, raw marks marred her skin. The princess consort of Qin frowned, her crimson lips parting slightly. The crown prince also coughed a few times. The red marks spread across his face, and one by one, hives erupted. The princess consort of Qin could no longer sit still. Shocked, she grasped the crown prince's shoulders and scrutinized his flushed, itchy face. She immediately called for the court physician, then pointed at Lin Ruowan. This woman is problematic. Arrest her. Panicked, the princess consort dispatched messengers to the palace while arranging for the crown prince to be taken to the nearest noble residence. Coincidentally, it was the residence of the young duke. Everyone present was detained. Yet I moved freely, attended by maidservants who brought tea, water, pastries, and dried fruits. Lin Ruowan, however, was tightly bound and cast into a corner under strict guard. She had intended to use scented powder to make me look foolish, hoping to lose the crown prince's favor and seize her chance. Unexpectedly, it was she who met her downfall. Minimally, it was an unintentional mistake, punishable by penalty. Maximally, it constituted an attempt to harm the heir apparent, a capital offense punishable by extermination of her entire clan. Lin Ruowan trembled uncontrollably, tormented by unbearable itching, nearly fainting from agony. Soon, the young duke returned to the estate. The princess consort of Qin was attending to the crown prince, unwilling to see him. Thus, he came to our quarters. At a glance, he spotted Lin Ruowan. Miss Lin! The young prince was stunned. Lin Ruowan, unable to think of anything else, choked out a plea, "Young prince, I feel so ill. Quickly untie my bonds and let the imperial physician examine me." The young prince's heart ached. He strode over, ready to cut the ropes. I stopped him. "This is a serious matter involving the crown prince. Your Highness, it would be best not to act rashly." My expression was filled with concern, my tone sincere. But the young prince took no pleasure in my caution. His face flushed with anger as he lashed out at me with his whip. "Mind your own business." The whip cut through the air with a sharp hiss, his strike merciless. I sidestepped to dodge, catching a glimpse out of the corner of my eye of the princess consort of Qin storming through the doorway. "Stop! How impressive, Your Highness!" The princess consort's voice was icy, brimming with fury. The young prince's arrogance deflated instantly. He stiffened his neck and offered a sheepish bow. "Greetings to the princess." The princess of Qin sneered again. "This girl is to be bound by this princess." Miss Lin, being sensible, understood the gravity of this matter and earnestly advised you. "Yet you showed no gratitude." "What? Do you have a secret affair with this girl?" At the word princess, Lin Ruowan's eyes widened in shock. When the words affair reached her ears, she felt even more humiliated and mortified. "Your Highness, I did not." "Then do you know that the imperial physician has confirmed sulfur powder was mixed into this girl's perfume? She deliberately attempted to poison your cousin, the crown prince." The side chamber fell silent. I lowered my gaze, sitting quietly below the princess consort of Qin. The young prince gaped dumbly, shifting his stare between Lin Ruowan and the princess consort. Lin Ruowan was already sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "Your Highness, I'm innocent." A flicker of guilt crossed her face, swiftly replaced by terror. She had intended to harm me. That day, she paid a hefty sum to bribe a palace attendant in the Eastern Palace, learning that the crown prince was allergic to sulfur powder, absolutely forbidden to touch. The palace attendants meant well, hoping to prevent Lin Ruowan from making a mistake, but their efforts backfired. Yet, Lin Ruowan's eyes darted about, and she instantly conceived a plan, to mix the white sulfur powder into the perfume powder to frame me. If I caused the crown prince's allergy, it would mean I was incompatible with him, barring me from the East Palace. I might even be despised and punished by the crown prince. There would be no good place for me in the entire capital. But she hadn't anticipated that I had secretly swapped the powder long ago, adding something else to it. Now, it was her face that was swollen and itchy, and she was the one suspected of plotting against the crown prince. The princess consort of Qin was furious, her chest heaving violently. The look in her eyes as she stared at Lin Ruowan seemed to demand Lin Ruowan be torn to pieces. "The wretch still dares to make excuses." Lin Ruowan wept uncontrollably. Fortunately, the young prince, lacking discernment, still believed her. "Your Highness, second Miss Lin was also victimized." "How could she be the culprit?" "It must be this first Miss Lin framing her." Lin Ruowan seized this lifeline, nodding frantically. Yes. My sister framed me. I used the Dai Chunlin powder she gave me, she laced it with something." Both spoke with conviction. I remained calm and composed. "Your Highness, I have never used Dai Chunlin perfume powder, nor have I ever purchased it. A simple check at the shop will confirm this. It was actually after meeting His Royal Highness the Crown Prince that day that my younger sister gave me a box. She applied it for me just before I left today." The implication in my words was crystal clear. How could the princess consort of Qin, steeped in court politics for decades, fail to grasp this? She shot Lin Ruowan a contemptuous glance, her doubts already beginning to waver. Lin Ruowan shuddered and wailed pitifully, "Your Highness, forgive me. I misremembered. I ordered the powder purchased. But I had no idea the crown prince was allergic to sulfur powder. This was a mere accident. I would never dare harm the crown prince." The princess consort of Qin waved her hand. A palace maid was brought forward. Lin Ruowan's eyes narrowed sharply, panic evident. Second Miss Lin gave the servant 50 taels of silver to inquire about His Highness the Crown Prince's schedule. She also asked what His Highness liked and disliked. She even inquired in detail about what His Highness is allergic to and must never come into contact with. The palace maid wept, her cheeks swollen and bruised, the purple handprints clearly visible. Next, the proprietor of Dai Chunlin perfume shop was brought forward. Kneeling, he cautiously stated, "The second miss of the Lin household is a regular customer of our shop, frequently making purchases." The maid snapped, "Besides the second young lady, did anyone else from the Lin household make purchases?" The shopkeeper pondered briefly before shaking his head. "I once asked the second young lady's maid if the eldest daughter of the Lin household used our perfumes." The maid sneered, "What's the eldest daughter? She's so uncultured, she's not worthy of using them." He mimicked the maid's sharp, biting tone with uncanny accuracy. Lin Ruowan was dumbfounded. She hadn't expected the princess consort of Qin to uncover the truth so swiftly. From gathering intelligence to purchasing the powder, even the shop selling the whitening sulfur powder had been tracked down. She was reaping what she had sown, yet found herself unable to speak. The second young lady of the Lin household is innocent and naive. Perhaps there are hidden circumstances. The young prince stubbornly defended Lin Ruoan. The princess consort of Qin only sneered coldly. The eldest princess is wise and sharp-witted. How did she end up with such a foolish son? I know, the day she fell into the water, you saved her and fell for her, didn't you? The young prince scratched his head, his face flushing slightly. Fool! Don't you remember what day it was when she fell into the water? The day the crown prince ventured out of the palace alone. She sought to climb the social ladder by attaching herself to him, yet you snatched the opportunity from under her nose. How she must have seethed with hatred. And you foolishly fell in love. The princess consort of Qin's voice dripped with scorn, her gaze brimming with contempt. Her eyes sliced through Lin Ruoan like a knife, draining all color from her face until she trembled violently. The young prince froze. Impossible, humph. The princess laughed coldly. His face flushed crimson with shame and anger, and he hurried away. Lin Ruoan wept even more bitterly. Amidst her wretched sobs, footsteps drew near. The crown prince awoke, struggling to support himself as he walked over, leaning against the doorframe to catch his breath. Under the physician's care, the swelling on his face had completely subsided, though his lips remained pale. Taking the hand the princess consort of Qin hastily offered, he turned his gaze to me, offering a faint smile and a reassuring look. "Aunt, we cannot tarnish Miss Lin's reputation." His clear, elegant voice was firm and resolute. The princess consort of Qin understood. Meeting the crown prince's tender gaze, I understood too. He wished to marry me, so he could not allow my sisters to bear the grave sin of plotting against the crown prince. This matter must be suppressed. The princess consort of Qin pondered, "I shall enter the palace at once and discuss this with Her Majesty the Empress." The crown prince nodded, "Thank you, Auntie." Lin Ruoan collapsed completely to the ground. Reporting this to the Empress would surely enrage her. Death might be spared, but punishment would follow. Not only would she never marry the crown prince, but she'd be barred from any respectable family in the capital. Her eyelids fluttered, and Lin Ruoan fainted. Before leaving, the princess consort of Qin ordered Lin Ruoan to receive 20 slaps before being sent back to the Lin residence for seclusion and reflection. Thus, the unconscious Lin Ruoan was doused with a basin of cold water to rouse her, then dragged up and subjected to a barrage of slaps. Already in agony, her limp body offered no resistance. Her faint struggles and cries were drowned out by the resounding smacks. As for me, I was deliberately kept behind by the crown prince. In the secluded courtyard, all maids and eunuchs had been dismissed. The crown prince leaned back in his chair, personally pouring me a cup of tea. I took the cup, my gaze tracing the lines of his slender fingers up to meet his lingering eyes. My heart felt as if it had been pricked. It was as though I had encountered this gaze long ago. When exactly had that been? The crown prince asked, "Did I startle you?" I snapped back to reality, shaking my head with a faint smile. "I was only concerned for you, and worried my position as crown princess might be in jeopardy." The crown prince's pale lips curved slightly, his smile deepening his eyes. "Thank you for your concern. It eases my mind considerably. I shall petition His Majesty for our marriage decree. Miss Lin, would you consent?" His lingering gaze fixed deeply upon me. A surge of heat ignited within my heart. Within that flame burned the delight of being cherished and favored by the crown prince. He was handsome and gentle, of noble stature. To be loved by him was undeniably a thrilling prospect. Yet more profound was the exhilaration of power and status soon to be mine. I nodded readily. The crown prince was still frail, so after a few games of chess, he had me escorted away. By the time I returned to the Lin residence, the entire household was in an uproar. An old maid whispered to me that an hour ago, Lin had been brought back, covered in wounds. Second aunt was wailing like the sky was falling, and the old grandmother was furious enough to devour someone. They were waiting for my return to punish me severely. Second aunt sobbed, "Eldest miss, I know you hate me, hate the entire Lin family, but Wan'er is so innocent. How could you harm her? I beg you, mother, to vindicate Wan'er." The old matriarch spat venom. "Lin Ruai, kneel before me. Wan'er is your sister. How dare you frame her? This Lin household has no place for a woman like you." Both expected me to be the same timid, easily bullied eldest daughter of the main branch, waiting to beg for mercy on my knees. Unexpectedly, I laughed aloud. "Grandmother, did the envoys sent by the princess consort not explain why Lin was beaten?" The old matriarch choked, flinging her teacup at my feet. "You framed Wan'er, yet dared to argue?" Shattered shards scattered dust across the floor. I casually shifted my stance, offering a feigned, obedient smile. "Grandmother, how do you wish to punish me? Expel me from the Lin family? Beat me? Lock me in the ancestral hall? Starve me for 10 days or half a month to teach me a lesson?" In my childhood, this was the old matriarch's usual tactic. Threatening to cast me out, leaving me to become a beggar, trampled by others. Locked in the ancestral hall, given only a bowl of water each day. Starved until dizzy and tear-soaked, I could only scrape incense ash to stave off hunger. In my dazed state, I murmured, calling out for father and mother. As if a voice answered me, struggling to open my eyes, I heard only Lin Ruowan's contemptuous sneer. "Calling for your parents? They're long dead. You fool. Starve yourself to death quickly, then you can join them." After that, I stopped being afraid. The Lin family ancestors could see clearly who the true villain was. Expelling me from the Lin family suits me perfectly. I'll ask His Royal Highness the Crown Prince to find me a noble family. I'll marry into the Eastern Palace in splendor, standing above all of you. Beating me or starving me would be even better. I'll tell His Royal Highness how my grandmother, second aunt, and cousin treated me. I wonder how His Royal Highness will treat you all? A deathly silence fell over the room. My aunt covered her mouth, panic etched across her face. The old matriarch was overcome with agitation, her trembling finger pointing at me. You, wicked granddaughter." Before she could finish, saliva dripped from the corner of her mouth. Her eyes turned bloodshot, cheeks puffed out, her entire body shaking uncontrollably. She had been so enraged she suffered a stroke. Her once pampered body, like a withered tree, collapsed suddenly. The maids rushed forward in alarm, frantically calling for the physician. As for me, I turned and walked away without a second glance. That night, Lin Ruowan awoke. The old matriarch, however, had completely lost her senses. Lying in bed, she was now a helpless invalid, requiring constant assistance for every basic need. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Lin Ruowan wrote a letter that very night and dispatched it by express messenger to her second uncle, who held an official post in a distant province. I intercepted the letter, opened it, and read it casually before smiling. "Send it back to her exactly as it is." The maid inquired curiously, "Young miss, why did you not stop the letter?" I tapped the maid's forehead with a radiant smile. "Let her dream sweetly. After all, the days ahead will be nothing but nightmares." The letter was sent. Lin Ruowan waited with bated breath for her biological father, my second uncle, to return to the capital and vindicate her. But the nightmare arrived faster than she could have imagined. The day after the princess consort of Qin entered the palace, the empress issued an edict. Lin Ruowan had committed an offense before the imperial court and was to be punished with 20 slaps daily. The execution matron in the palace possessed strength sufficient to pull a cart drawn by oxen. The 20 slaps were real and hard, nearly tearing apart her carefully maintained delicate face. After the beating, Ruowan had to kneel at the Lin family gate for 6 hours to reflect on her mistakes. To spare me any embarrassment, the Empress specifically praised me as having the grace and intelligence of orchids and lilies, the very model of a noble lady in the capital. Thus, the only one made a laughingstock was Ruowan. Ruowan nearly lost her mind. Her eyes glazed over, blood trickling from her lips as she knelt motionless at the Lin residence's gate. Her knees, nearly worn to shreds, throbbed with excruciating pain. Yet the physical torment wasn't the worst agony. Those discarded by the Empress became targets for everyone to trample. The capital's noble young men and women deliberately detoured to the Lin residence to gawk at the spectacle. Her scandalous affair spread like wildfire throughout the capital. The noble ladies mocked her lack of restraint, failing to seduce the crown prince only to be despised by both him and the Empress, ending up in such a pitiful state. The young nobles indulged in lewd fantasies, their expressions lascivious as they imagined Ruowan's hidden demeanor. She pretends to be pure and chaste in public, yet secretly gets herself wet to get close to the crown prince. Wonder what it felt like when the young prince embraced her. Some mischievous souls even teased him right in front of him. The young prince's face darkened like charcoal, as if betrayed. He shattered a table with a single whip crack and stormed off. Ruowan endured it all, waiting for her second uncle to return and vindicate her. Her second uncle returned. Yet, on that very same day, the news of her imperial betrothal to the crown prince also reached the Lin residence. Crates upon crates of lavish, precious gifts were delivered to the Lin estate. A eunuch, annoyed that Ruowan was in his way, kicked her squarely in the chest. She collapsed to the floor, her body convulsing as she coughed up a mouthful of blood. No one paid her any mind, not even her beloved father, who turned a blind eye to her plight. Her second uncle smiled obsequiously. "My niece has been graced with the favor of His Majesty and the Empress. Truly, this is a blessing for the Lin family." Then he scolded, "This worthless daughter of mine has angered Her Majesty the Empress. I shall deal with her severely." He envisioned strangling Ruowan with a white silk cord. This would please both him and the Empress while distancing himself from the matter. But his second aunt objected. She wiped away tears first. "Master, our daughter merely made a small mistake, momentarily angering Her Majesty the Empress. Why must she pay with her life?" Uncle Lin was also uncertain. Cunning and self-serving, he would exploit his wife, daughter, or even his own mother for advancement. Now he feared backfiring, that the Empress would see him as heartless enough to sacrifice his own flesh and blood, jeopardizing his future. Yet he dreaded a light punishment angering both the Empress and me. He finally said, "Then send her to the nunnery." Second aunt still refused. Wan'er is only 16, with a face like a flower and a figure like the moon. Her future is bright. How can you be so heartless? Uncle too, flustered and irritated, sneered coldly, "Bright future? You've raised Wan'er to be so arrogant she doesn't know her place. If she escapes with her life today, it's not the Empress's mercy, it's mine. At this point, you should be thinking about how to curry favor with the future crown princess. Tomorrow, I'll have her hair cut and send her straight to the convent." He declared this with finality, rising impatiently to seek out his delicate concubine. Unexpectedly, second aunt lunged at him, clawing at his face with her sharp nails. "Don't play the saint. You had a hand in killing my elder brother and sister-in-law. You're mad." Second uncle, enraged, shoved her violently. A piercing scream echoed as second aunt's head slammed against the stone. Her eyes rolled back, and she drew her last breath. Chaos erupted once more in the Lin household. A physician was summoned overnight, miraculously reviving second aunt from the brink of death. Yet she remained unconscious, foaming at the mouth, limbs convulsing. The physician sighed, "Your wife likely won't survive beyond 3 months. Please make preparations, master." Ruowan froze in shock. Her hair was disheveled, her cheeks flushed with pain, her knees throbbing unbearably as she collapsed onto her aunt, weeping. "Mother! Father!" Her cries were wretched and desperate. An unreliable father, a dying mother. And the old matriarch, stroke-stricken and comatose, reduced to the state of a fool. If second aunt died, she would still have to observe 3 years of mourning. Under cover of night, she limped out of the mansion, running to the brothel district to find the young Marquis. I stood in the shadows, silently watching her walk toward her own ruin. A veil hid her disfigured cheek. Her eyes were swollen and red, brimming with tears. Lin Ruoan leaned against the young prince like a willow in the wind, her soft body brushing against his arm. "Young prince, will you marry me? Even as a concubine, I want to be with you." She played the pitiful, helpless role, believing the young prince still harbored feelings for her. The young Marquis, drunk and slurring, his already dim wits failing him, thought he was still in a brothel. He instinctively pulled the delicate, fragrant beauty in his arms closer. Lin Ruoan took this as tacit consent. Her eyes darted, and she added, "If you can find a way to ruin Lin Ruo's reputation, make sure she can't marry the crown prince, or better yet, make her die, then I'll marry you." The gritted teeth in her voice were impossible to conceal. The young prince only reached out to grope her body. A passing libertine drew near, teasingly, "Young prince, why not find a room? Such haste." "Hey, which brothel's girl is this?" the libertine grinned, attempting to lift her veil. Lin Ruoan gasped in alarm, shoving the young prince away and fleeing. After the playboy helped the young prince depart, I quietly returned to the mansion. The crown prince's secret guard, sent to protect me, stood by my side. Having heard the entire exchange, he respectfully asked, "Miss Lin, should I report this matter to His Highness the Crown Prince?" I shook my head, offering a faint smile. Such a trifling matter needn't trouble His Highness. I can handle it myself. Cornered and desperate, Lin Ruoan remained nothing but a clown. Her schemes were laughably inept. I decided it was time to make her suffer a little more. Before dawn, Lin Ruoan was dragged from her bed. The matron was about to slap her again. Yet today, amidst her anguish, a flicker of hope flickered in her eyes. She was waiting for the young prince to devise a way to ruin my reputation. What she didn't know was that after sobering up, the young prince recalled those words and broke out in a cold sweat. He was rash and hot-tempered, not particularly clever, but he wasn't a fool either. He immediately recounted the entire truth to the princess. The princess dowager, too, broke out in a cold sweat upon hearing it. She immediately entered the palace and recounted the entire story to the empress. The princess dowager deeply resented Lin Ruoan for treating her son like a fool to toy with. That vile girl should be put to death. She gritted her teeth. The empress pondered in silence, then summoned me into the palace at once. Facing the most exalted woman in the capital, I bowed my head respectfully and said, "My cousin has committed a grave offense. Whatever punishment your majesty deems fit, she deserves. However, I humbly beg your majesty to grant her a chance to reform and spare her life." The princess laughed. A daughter-in-law favored by my sister-in-law is not only beautiful as the moon and flowers, but also upright in character and pure in nature. Congratulations, sister-in-law. The empress also smiled faintly. A compassionate and lenient crown princess was a blessing for the imperial family, not a liability. "This palace grants your request." The crown prince escorted me out of the palace. He did not ask about Lin Ruoan, so I told him of my actions. "Your Highness, I did this deliberately. Death is too swift. I wanted Lin Ruoan to suffer while alive. I wished to hide nothing from him. With the betrothal decree issued, I intended to gradually make him understand and accept that I was not merely a parasitic bindweed clinging to a man. I possessed wisdom and courage. I also held grudges. Beyond being his wife, I could serve as his strategist. Compared to emotional bonds, securing my position through mutual interests offered greater assurance. The crown prince gently stroked my cheek, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. He said, "I understand everything. Ruai, you needn't fear. I understand you." His gleaming eyes held a tenderness I'd never before comprehended. I clasped his hand, my eyes stinging slightly. "Your Highness, thank you." The entire capital buzzed with talk of Lin Ruoan's fate. She was shorn and sent to the imperial monastery for penance. Called cultivation, it was truly like imprisonment, forced to do all manner of menial labor, suffering unbearably. My second uncle, too, was demoted 3 ranks and exiled to southern Fujian for failing to guide Lin Ruoan properly. He would likely spend the rest of his life trapped among vermin and insects. The crown prince once sought me out, saying with concern, "The Lin family has fallen. Do not fear. I am your greatest support." I thanked him. Truthfully, I had never been afraid. Deep down, I had never fully relied on the crown prince either. Human hearts are fickle. Vows made today can turn into dreams apart tomorrow, such is the way of the world. Besides, the crown prince had his own beloved Moonlight. I believed his tender words now, but I believed in myself even more. The only pillar I could lean on was myself. The old dowager's illness grew increasingly severe. Every servant in the household knew I'd been neglected by her since childhood, our bond never deep. So gradually, they all began to slack off. Once, passing by the old dowager's courtyard, I saw servants cracking melon seeds or playing cards. The old dowager lay with her mouth open, crying out for water, yet no one paid her any mind. A teacup lay within arm's reach, yet she couldn't grasp it. Unattended for days, festering sores covered her back, pus oozing, foul-smelling, causing both pain and itch. Soon, she would die in agony. Second aunt was also nearing death. Her beloved daughter suffered in the imperial temple. Her husband, accompanied by his weeping concubine, was exiled to southern Fujian. I kept her alive daily with ginseng broth. The maid asked, "Young miss, how long must we feed her this broth?" I replied offhandedly, "Until I marry into the Eastern Palace. Then she can die." On the day of the grand wedding, the sun shone brightly, the weather perfect. Dressed and adorned, I entered the bridal sedan chair bound for the Eastern Palace. Midway, the sedan chair suddenly halted. A clamor of voices reached us. "Your Highness, a nun is blocking the path, refusing to let the sedan chair pass." The maid cried out in alarm. The nun involved could only be Lin-Ruoan. Her heart-wrenching cries drifted faintly toward us. "I am the crown princess. You've brought the wrong person. Hurry! Comb my hair. I'm marrying the crown prince. I'm becoming the crown princess." I remained motionless. The crown prince galloped over on his tall steed. After confirming I was unharmed, his face darkened as he barked, "Drag her away." I'd never seen him so furious. The guards, drenched in sweat, protested, "Your Highness, this woman clung to the horse's leg and refused to budge." "Then trample her." The clatter of hooves resumed. Lin-Ruoan's muffled groans of pain echoed, dull yet strangely melodic. A trail of blood spread across the ground. The limp, human form was casually tossed into the dust. Her Taoist robe was filthy beyond recognition. She had once worn gold and silver, looking down on me from her lofty perch, mocking me as a weak, incompetent fool. Now, she lay dead, silent as rotten mud. I absent-mindedly toyed with the phoenix hairpin at my temple. I had intended to spare her life this lifetime to torment her slowly, yet unexpectedly, Ma Xingxing trampled her to death. Well, so be it. She was destined to die anyway. After the wedding, the crown prince and I lived in perfect harmony. The crown prince was dignified and gentle, while the empress was graceful and wise, both easy to get along with. Yet one thing puzzled me deeply. The Eastern Palace had no concubines whatsoever, not even a bedchamber maid. When I paid my respects to the empress, I casually inquired about the crown prince's true love. Better to be prepared than accidentally anger the crown prince. The empress covered her mouth and laughed. "Crown princess, you truly don't know?" I shook my head. "Mother, please don't tease me." "Then you should ask the crown prince yourself." The empress fell silent, laughing until she was doubled over. After returning to the Eastern Palace, I pondered long and hard before finally asking the crown prince if he intended to take a concubine. "If there is a woman who captures your heart, simply tell me. I will bring her into the palace early, so my younger sister won't suffer any injustice." The crown prince paused, his hands still turning the pages of his book. He lifted his gaze, fixing me with a deep, lingering stare. The crown princess truly possesses magnanimity and virtue. As if I could smell the scent of jealousy. I was utterly baffled. Late into the night, the crown prince cast aside his usual decorum and restraint. He thrust into me again and again, relentlessly. Sweat dripped down. I gasped for breath, feeling only a white haze flash before my eyes. Afterwards, utterly exhausted, I fell into a deep sleep. Just as I was drifting into dreams, warm breath brushed my ear. It was the Crown Prince's hoarse voice. "It's you. Lin, I've longed for you for 2 lifetimes. After my parents passed, I lived under a false name, studying with my master and learning chess from him. When the young Crown Prince slipped out of the palace to play, he once played a game with me. He asked my name and where I lived. I told him I was Lin Suehua, residing at the Lin residence, 20 li east, 30 li west, 40 li east, then north." The Crown Prince quietly sought it out. Then he stood staring blankly at a doghouse. The Crown Prince was strictly confined. By the time he next left the palace, I had stopped studying and disguised myself as a man to work in the shopkeeper's business. Thus, we missed each other entirely. I understood why the Empress had been smiling all along. Because I was smiling too, laughing until tears streamed down my face. After clearing the misunderstanding, we became truly devoted to each other. Just as in my past life, I strategized for him, solidifying his position as Crown Prince and clearing all obstacles. After he ascended the throne, he named our child Crown Prince and shared the empire with me. In the harem, I alone held his favor. In court, I sat equal to him. The ministers gaped in shock, denouncing me as a seductress who corrupted the court order, pleading with the emperor to reconsider. They even branded me a demon queen. The emperor flew into a rage, ordering 7 days and nights of flogging until the ministers' backsides were swollen and gleaming red. Finally, none dared utter another word. Moreover, my abilities gradually won the ministers' respect. My prestige soared, and I seized the opportunity to demote the young prince to commoner status, citing his humiliation of a commoner's daughter. After all, I hold grudges. Days passed in peaceful tranquility, filled with happiness and well-being. Leaning against the emperor's shoulder, I smiled and asked, "If that day, I hadn't waited for you under the moon bridge, what would you have done?" "I would have come to find you." The emperor kissed my forehead. "I would have told you I wished to marry you as crown princess, granting you unparalleled honor." He understood my ambition and was willing to fulfill it. A gentle breeze blew, scattering falling peach blossoms. I thought, this was a most splendid life. The story ends here. Thank you all for your company. See you in the next chapter.